here or there.
There.
Yeah.
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Good to see you. All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. For those of you who don't know, tonight at 6 o'clock, there will be a meeting here in Town Hall for nominations for 4 positions on the Board of Education. So I'd like to go to that. So I'd like to see if we can get through the agenda and then we'll go from there. So first off on our agenda is resignations, and Hughes and Monique were going to come tonight, and then they had another thing going on. So I got this little note from them, so I thought I'd just read it. Please consider the following our resignations from the Town of Washington Sustainability Committee. We've been honored to serve as members of the Sustainability Committee in its efforts to reduce the town's footprint. Earth Day activities, water testing, mulching, no mow May, salt testing of tributaries, no idle invasive species tracking and removal, no wake boating on Lake Warama. It's great. So have, EV charging stations and other initiatives and programs have benefited the town. Because we are moving to Massachusetts, we will no longer be able to serve on the Sustainability Committee. We wish the committee continued success in its efforts to help Washington move toward a lower impact future.
That's a lot.
So yes, it is. And I was hoping they would come tonight, but I don't blame them.
They're moving.
Did that go to
closer
the
their
select?
kids.
Yes, that also went, that went to the selectmen as well, so we'll act on that. So,
Moving closer to their kids.
yeah, so
Yeah.
thinking about that, if people have some, I tried to tell Monique she couldn't move until she found people to replace her, but somehow that didn't work. But, we are gonna be looking for some new members, so, if people have some people who you think might fit in with us, let me know. They can meet with me, they can come to a meeting, whatever, but it'd be great.
Great.
So,
Don't forget, you skipped the minutes.
oh, thank you. I
Yep.
do, yeah.
Three.
All right, and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the May meeting. Can I have a second?
Well, I have one little correction.
Well, give me a second and then we'll change them.
Second.
Thank you. All right, what's your
I
correction?
didn't know you
Yes.
approved them before.
Yeah, well, with that, we'll approve them with the correction.
Okay, under the wake boat
Yeah.
ordinance, the last, second to last sentence. The ordinance would ban wake boats, no. it would
No,
ban-
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, ban
that's important.
the
That would be.
use of
Yeah, that would be-
wake boats.
Oh, no.
All right. Any other,
Wait, say that again, where is it?
in wake boating, the second
So
to
it wouldn't
last.
ban the
sentence.
boats, it would just ban the weight, the
Wait,
feature, the
well,
feature.
well,
Wow.
The use of,
Yes.
yeah, all right. Any other comments, suggestions? All right, can we, get a, move on the minutes with the correction? All in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. All right, thank you. Michelle, all right, EV charging stations. Would like to update us. We got a, Michelle,
Applications are in.
yeah,
Okay,
Jim was waiting, he wanted me to check with the town lawyer to just make sure there was no. Liability on the part of the town because we don't have complete sidewalks. To the, the access to them is not
finished.
as finished as here in the plaza, and the lawyer said we're good. So, oh,
great.
yeah, so it got signed off, it's waiting for approval. With
And
everything.
both locations.
Both locations,
Okay,
which
There was
I
something
just
about
wanna
one
remind
and
them.
two. I listened to the meeting, the
Yeah.
last meeting.
Well, there was they suggested that we put 2 chargers in down the depot here.
Mhm.
And there wasn't much more of a cost, if I remember correctly, but again,
Little.
we
Is
just
it
felt
two
that
units are suggested?
2 yeah,
separate
yeah,
units.
yeah.
Not
some
one
reason-
unit with two.
Yeah, each
Two
one would
quotes.
have, so there'd be 4,
Right,
and we
right.
just felt that
Oh,
that was more
right.
than the town
Yeah.
needed at this point in time, so.
so, yeah,
For whatever reason, the site was eligible for
Yeah.
that,
Hmm.
whether it was the supply of electricity or the space. And so he wanted us to just know
yeah,
that it was a possibility, and Jim and Jay felt, that.
yeah,
this
that's just
was
like a
good.
lot.
I think we had that
it's-
conversation in email somewhere too, that we just thought that was a little overkill for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just wanna remind everyone, it's $40,000 of grant money.
Yeah.
20 for each unit, so let's hope.
And do we have an idea of timeline? Did they give the state? They never do, but
Mm-mm.
yeah, they
No.
don't usually let
Is
us
there,
know,
is
so
is that federal money?
it's state money, I believe,
They,
yes.
Well, it's
Through Eversource.
Eversource.
There's,
It is still
Yeah.
Eversource?
there's a tax on your bill.
Amy,
Yeah, well,
Wondering, does it have to be in that location, or don't remember if we discussed having it down near the pavilion? Because that would
Um,
make sense as the second downtown option.
well, we talked about that and we started with this one because it's more close to the downtown area. And that was the part of the application. I think that was part of the showing that
Right.
that it's can be used more. And we're trying to attract people from out of town to come into town. That would be more for folks that are going
They're
to
already in town, right?
Baseball games
games
or whatever.
stuff to get,
Probably charging at home anyway because
Right.
it's cheaper
Right.
and more
Right.
efficient.
so.
That's
But
true.
that's what, yeah. So, all right, anything else on, so we'll be waiting, we're on a waiting,
Okay.
on a hold there. All right. Wake boating, I meant to bring my handy, the flyer that came out the other day, as you know,
Postcard.
I understand the,
They got some money.
what's that? Yeah, they got some, whoever doing that is great.
I should go for
I
it.
believe the,
This is the not wakeboarding group that you're speaking.
yes,
to.
yes.
Against it.
Yes, I know
Yes,
some of them.
I thought their flyer was pretty effective myself, but,
that's
Um,
the website that, did you put it on, or? the link
I
to it?
had sent the
You put that
link, yeah.
link, Yeah,
Yeah, same group.
I read that, yeah. I was-
yeah, their website, yeah.
Yeah, they're not
Pretty
joking.
complicated.
Yeah.
The woman who's in charge of that committee is, I think, head of US rowing or so. She has a connection to US.
Oh,
rowing.
really?
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh, yeah, she's right on the lake. I can't
Yeah.
remember her name. Yeah.
So I know, Lake Warmog Authority met, I believe, last week and approved the ordinance. Unanimous, that group, that we were, as a town, a Board of Selectmen, waiting for them to approve it, so it'll be on our agenda for our next meeting next week. To vote on the, ordinance, and then, assuming we approve it, to move to a town meeting. I believe Warren or Kent or both
I
have,
think
Yeah,
it's,
Ken-
I thought Warren
Ken-
Definitely.
yeah, and I thought.
Ken just agreed to having a meeting. I
Yeah.
thought-
Yeah.
and then
yeah,
that-
but I
that-
think Warren passed.
Warren,
it.
that's what, the website,
Yeah,
the no
that's
wake,
what I thought, yeah.
it was like
So-
June 3rd or something, Warren passed it.
So we just, we'll move that forward at our next Board of Selectmen meeting and put it on a town, agenda for some town meeting in the near future. Invasive species, Brian's not here, but I know, we had agreed to sign a contract with, where we're sharing the cost with, Steep Rock for the, invasive works along the river from, where are we doing it now? From the second, that stream that comes in along Beebrook Road, that comes into the Chippewa. And where you go over the steps right up here, on this side of the road, if I'm not making any sense, apparently.
Over the step.
You know, the steps that you go into to get into, this part of, Steep Rock. What's the one the one by the fire department, what's the one going up 109?
Hidden Valley.
Hidden Valley.
Okay.
So there's a tributary that comes down along that stream, so that's one place where they're gonna be walking all the way down to where it hits the Chippewa, and then the Chippewa all the way through, where it goes behind the firehouse and down just into town.
Oh,
and
to
so-
town, not all the way. to
No,
the
they're
lake.
not, that's
Okay.
the section they're doing now,
Okay.
assuming we see success, and it does take a couple of years to do that, so it'll be 2 or 3
I think
years,
it's-
but
I think
we
it's
plan to
great.
do it more of that next year.
See how it works.
And yeah, and plus, I know Steep Rock is gonna, we've talked about that with them, about doing some, training or at least a meeting with, to open up to the public, to talk to the public, especially people who live on the river, about what they can do. So it doesn't really help a lot if somebody's property in the middle isn't doing anything about it. So that's one of the issues we have when we get down into town and through here, is that there are.
I just found a
Right.
patch on my property. I've never seen it. before,
Really?
But it's on 47 on
Yeah.
Green Hill Road.
Yeah,
It's just a little
yeah.
That's
cluster,
how it starts.
but I don't know what to do with it. I was gonna cut it and cover it. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't got
Hard-
back up there.
It's hard to dig up and it's hard to keep.
I have a wicked edge of it between Walker Brook and the road right in front of my property.
Yes.
And it's dangerous because it just grows out into
Right.
the road. You can't see around the corner.
All right, invasive, so we talked about. The only thing I wanted to mention about recycling is, we've gotten a lot of use of these, containers in the back here now. We have I've gone back there a couple times and the plastic bag thing is used, there's like, yes, I went there, what is today? Wednesday, Monday, I guess. And there was 2 full plastic bags there. Somebody taken one out and left it. So I've talked to Luke here, the custodian here, about being more attentive to that. And
Are we getting another bench for our
yeah,
efforts?
yeah, we're on the road now towards that.
Devastating.
Well, the first one, that's what I wanted to mention here, so I put that on. The first one is, Jim and I talked about this, and the town is looking to do some, I think we're gonna rename the pavilion for Sheila Anson, and we thought that would be also a good place to put that bench at the same
That's-
time.
yeah.
So whenever that happens, that dedication happens, we thought that would be a good thing to do at the same time.
Very
So,
nice.
Should I talk about my sign as part of recycling, or you want?
yeah,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
definitely.
So I have,
brought that.
okay, well, I might have an updated version one, because I
Good,
had a
good.
couple of meetings with Liz and Liddy.
Okay.
And they had thoughts.
Yeah, yeah.
So first off, I know that there was some, Amy, I'll send you an electronic copy, but basically it's just bullet points trying to get people to really focus on what is the goal at the transfer station. Because there is some lower level of cooperation. Everybody at the transfer station, all of the staff, men and women, feel very strongly about the word required.
Great,
Um,
okay with that.
okay, I know there have been some, maybe that was too strong, but they just feel like they put up
Yeah.
enough, please, could you please,
Yep,
you know.
that's what
Do
we're.
we have an ordinance? I'll look it up. But-
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Okay,
do have an ordinance on.
So if they don't,
Okay.
then they can refuse to take their refuse.
Well,
well, I just think they're just trying to. A little stronger encouragement that this isn't just something that we're playing games with, like, this is an ordinance, this is how you use the transfer station.
Right,
This is
right.
what your permit means, you're given a permit.
I think if somebody came up there and they tried to tell them you can't do this and they, went ahead and did, they're not gonna fight somebody or try to stop them from doing it, but they'll
I mean,
let Jim know or
They-
let
they-
us know.
They will, no,
Yeah.
and they have called people who
Yeah.
are just repeatedly
Right.
cooperative.
Right.
And I think, and part of it is that. This is very specific about what goes where, and I think people sometimes just don't know.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a little bit of an education and a little bit of a firm hand. The question, Michelle, as we go to make this sign is, they put a lot more on the sign than I had. So logistically, what makes sense to put on the sign in terms of space? We don't want like OED tiny print, so that would be a little bit of an editorial back and forth with the sign person of. And their, view, how much is somebody gonna be able to see from a car, but,
right.
Right.
Well,
that's-
yeah, and so. We can do whatever we want, really.
Okay,
So,
alright.
so we'll figure
we'll
it out.
chat.
So let's like work on the words.
Yeah.
Once everyone's good on the words, maybe you come by.
I mean, I
We
just
can
met with
either-
them a couple of days ago, and these are the words that they want. So
Okay.
these are the
so-
things that they wanna emphasize.
I was wondering kind of what we were thinking for size, and I was also thinking, what can we do to make it, like, I was thinking of a color background with white words, cause it just stands out a little bit more so that people see it, but we can work on that.
Right.
And size.
Does anybody reading it think, oh, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bag prevents bears, what is?
So I have to work on that. So they have noticed that compost that comes in the little recyclable bags is less attractive to the bears than loose compost.
My bears.
At this, that's their observation at the station.
Interesting.
So,
I'm one of those, I got a 5-gallon bucket,
Yeah.
I don't put any,
Right.
I don't wanna waste the
And
bag.
The
Right.
API
I know.
certified bags
Yeah,
are
yeah,
delicate,
exactly.
so.
Yeah,
I
I did talk to
Back
them.
to- They'll take like 5 years or something to compost. I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a joke.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
even longer.
The ones that Jim handed out?
They
Yes.
probably-
What if we buy them to the, like, bear proof containers like we have in the back.
Well, I thought about that exactly. So let's, I think that's
Okay,
something.
so we'll take out that wording and maybe
Yeah.
try to find a solution that is,
Yeah.
less plastic based.
Our extra money. we
I mean,
can-
it's not plastic,
Yeah.
the BPI stuff isn't.
Well,
I mean, BPI certified.
I mean,
but whatever.
I use compound buckets and you put those.
That's,
lids on.
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
got. And that's,
Right,
there's
the Home
no
Depot,
problem at
yeah.
home.
Yeah.
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 And,
But
but in terms of, at
Then
the
I-
other end, keeping it bear proof, if maybe another way to store it is a better,
So they're saying at the,
yes.
at the.
At the transfer station, in the containers, they find the ones that are rifled through.
tend to be,
Can't
the
they
bears have
bears
now
out of-
learned how to rip off the back. They don't get through the lock. They take,
At-
where
at
the
the- at the
hinge is,
hinge,
where
yeah.
the hinge, that's where they learned to pull the thing apart. And I guess they hadn't said this to me, but I guess they're noticing it's the ones without the plastic bags in that they go for.
Yes, yes.
So
Let's,
we also have a bunch of these we bought that bear
we
proof
bought
one.
one,
I think that,
let's get a
Okay.
couple, we have the
Yeah.
money.
Alright,
Let's
so
do-
let's, all right,
get
so
'em
we'll
a
take that,
couple.
we'll take that wording off and we'll try to find a
Yeah.
better, any other wording that strikes people as.
Well, when you say food scraps only, does that mean meat?
yeah,
It means
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I don't know what they've been observing, but people have been putting maybe lawn scraps in there, other kinds of scraps
They don't want.
that does not go in the compost.
And when I last met with them, they aren't too keen on the like napkins, even if they're BPI certified,
No,
they don't like.
no paper, no.
Oh.
'Cause
They
I've
don't
been
want
trying
that
to
in there.
put my compost in a paper bag and that was a no, because
Uh,
everything has different finishing and
yeah,
different
yeah.
treatment, and so it's,
Well, it's like the company will actually take some of them, but it's like too complicated to
Which one?
sort that out, so it's
right,
just
yeah,
better
no,
to
you have
say
to
no.
say
well,
no.
it's, yeah, it's like when you put your glass bottles in a plastic bag and you put them on your at your house. Those get thrown away because they're not gonna open the plastic bag, even though they're glass bottles.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the thing I would like, let's finish this
Yeah,
and then I
yeah.
have a comment. Like food and drink containers only. For glass.
You can't
Yeah,
put
so-
light
so-
bulbs, you
right.
can't put Pyrex.
Even like if you have a.
Oh, yes,
um,
but when they say, I guess, what other, I get glass containers, I'm trying to think of where else, if it's not.
Say you have a
Food and
picture
drink,
frame.
okay,
look,
yeah,
fi-
yeah.
A picture
Yeah,
frame,
glass,
but you
glass.
can't put that in, that has
No.
a finish, it has a UV finishing,
Right,
so.
right, those,
um,
that were, okay.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's.
yeah.
Well, if anybody has any, obviously not printing this up tomorrow, and Amy, I'll send it to you,
The one thing I would like to
Oh.
see if we could add in here
okay,
is if we could, we have that website there.
yes,
But I'd like to say, cause there's a lot more information about what, like you're asking, can I put meat in there? Well, yeah, actually meat, they're okay with that, but you can go to our website for more information, more specific information about each area. Go to the town's website,
so
something.
maybe I'll
there.
take out some of
Yeah.
the wording on the bottom and just really focus on.
Yeah.
Go to the website for
Yeah,
more
and the
information.
website's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I find myself going back.
So you can,
We
yeah,
could
if I, okay.
probably even make a QR code to bring you
That
right
would-
to where
that
you
would-
want.
Yeah. And I would take off this process saves the town nearly.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, I'll take off the bottom language and we'll
No, I
focus,
like your effort is important
Oh,
for our
okay.
community
Yeah,
and
yeah.
planet. I
Oh.
like that. For more information, go to the town's.
Okay, perfect.
And I like the love the QR code.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm putting glass in, it always says, take the caps off.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, like a bottle of wine with a screw top
yeah, no,
has has
Yeah.
that aluminum band on there, so.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
You do what you can, I
Yeah,
guess, is what
yes.
it is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but definitely the tops can come off, that's for
Yeah.
sure, but I know what you mean. There's,
It's just-
and how much you wanna
it's-
cut yourself by trying to cut
no,
the
yeah,
damn,
Yeah.
you know?
Sometimes you can peel it all
I
off.
think it's great,
okay, all right, so
So
we'll,
no garbage, so the plastic clean, no garbage bags, meaning they.
Yeah.
I mean,
they have a different treatment on the outside and so if you pack, so Jim, my husband got yelled at because he brought all of our bags in a garbage bag. And a
Yeah.
clear, like recyclable, and it was like, no, because even that little thread, that little plastic
Yeah.
thread is no good, it's very.
Well, they gave me, because I bring so much, they gave me giant, their bags.
Oh, this is for the,
Film
the
plastic.
film plastic,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
film
not on there, actually.
So I actually wonder,
All right, that's not.
Yeah, we should have.
Is this for the film plastic or for the plastic recycling that's like?
No,
you
this is
know,
plastic bags, plastic film, so I should put plastic film there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called
That's what I
film
assumed it
plastic.
was, but-
Okay,
but-
okay, all right.
And actually the best, what I found in the videos, all the videos I watched, stretchy. It's stretchy, it's good. If
Well, they
it's
didn't say that,
crinkly,
they didn't say that to me.
You're gonna keep household.
but that's what
plastic bags.
Trex website says, the people taking it.
Yeah,
They-
so I'm at the plastic bag area, so I need to refine that a little bit, I'll.
Right.
They rejected a giant bag, someone brought me, cause I knew I recycled,
Yeah,
a giant bag of compost bag.
no, those are too heavy.
Well, they said, oh, they're too dirty.
You're dirty.
Yeah, and it's also, I think the plastic, some of the plastic is too
Those
heavy.
make, by the way, great garbage bags. That's
Yeah,
what
no,
use
I
for the
reuse,
garbage.
I reuse
Right,
that.
yeah.
Crazy.
Okay,
But so I think the one thing that now I'm looking at that where it says recycling, clean collapsed cardboard that we get, kitchen metal, paper and plastic. So it talks about that there, and so that's why, yeah, you really
Right.
need to name the other
the
one.
film, we'll find better words, more
Versus
specific
plastic
wording.
bottles and,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, just to separate
food
those two
container.
types of plastic, okay,
Yeah, and
okay,
I love the QR code idea and
Yeah.
also just more, more
Yeah.
details, see the website, because that's really,
okay,
that's great, thank
I will
you.
make those changes.
Right.
And then they do take light bulbs, all kinds of light bulbs. I mean, they take,
Right, well, I only have so much
yeah,
space.
but I don't
Where
think
does the,
people,
where do the light bulb, is there a
There is
container?
not.
they
for it?
go in one of those containers
It's,
there,
it's,
which is the big thing is the,
Oh,
yeah,
the
these.
fluorescent.
It's the electronic one.
Oh,
they
they
take-
take
Yeah, they
fluorescent
take-
bulbs? I did not know that.
Yeah, they take,
Fit that
and
in.
fluorescent bulbs are a big one.
and
Yeah.
those twisty ones that we all bought ages ago that are slowly starting to burn out in my
Yeah,
house.
yeah, me too.
I have a back
Yeah.
in my
Why is
garage.
it so late? Why is this, because they definitely lose their power after a while and you, how come it's so dark in this
I'll
room?
have-
Fluorescent bulbs have mercury, in it,
Yeah.
at least.
So
Yeah,
that's,
that's why all other bulbs can actually,
So those
can go in the trash.
yeah, well, they can be
But
recycled. They go to
not the
And they don't,
fluorescent.
and they don't charge you, because most places charge you
Yeah,
to
Okay,
take fluorescent bulbs, and
Okay.
it can be the 2 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot.
okay, all right, I'll put that in there.
that's great. I was gonna mention, later or do it now, we had been talking about trying to recycle and do that work on the foam cycling,
Yes.
but. And unfortunately, the electrical power we need to get up to the transfer station, the cost is like $400,000
Oh,
to get the
geez.
it's really, they need, it can't be done with we thought we were hoping to do it with a converter, but there's just not enough power, and we checked into it, I talked to Daryl Wright
Yeah.
about it, cause he's got a lot of obviously knows what, and, so at this point, unless somebody gives us a lot, we were up for doing the $80,000 purchase of the machine and
That's a lot.
getting some area towns to participate with us, but. At this point,
We had last decided to try to collect and take it to them.
well, we hadn't got, we should talk about that. We were talked about that as seeing how well that would work, but,
He
Amy
said he
better
couldn't
be-
do a rotary converter.
Amy,
I was just thinking, if we decide not to do it or to stage it and then find volunteers to bring it somewhere, that at least we provide an avenue for our people to bring, like, tell them where they can go, like, inform them that please save these materials and deliver them safe, for proper downstream use to blank. You know what I mean? At least tell
Yep.
us where to go.
I'll check with the folks up at Bark Hampstead, and ask them if they would be willing to consider having us. Either us bring our town stuff up there on some kind of regular basis. I don't think they'd have just anybody,
Like the plastic bags.
yeah, if you're not from town, I don't think they're gonna, unless you're from the 3 towns, I don't think they'll let you up there without a permit, but. There might be other options too, Amy, besides them.
Pretty sure Jacera would say, I'd rather educate people to not even accept it.
Well,
Yeah.
of course,
So if we do have to come up with some sort of shelf talker or sign, that we try to encourage that.
right, absolutely. But I will check with Bark Hampstead, because maybe they'll be, they're making money off of it the more they get, so maybe they'd be willing, and if we figure out a reasonable way to collect it, the trouble is the stuff is so big.
I know it's
That-
weird,
that-
it's light
Yeah,
but big.
And so,
So the the electronics that is needed,
It's,
it chews it up.
it heats it, it
It heats
melts it.
So.
Very
that's-
high heat.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
very
so
high.
that needs
That's the,
three-phase
yeah,
power.
and that's the problem. Like, we were able, actually, those two, compactors up there are on converters. They're supposed to be 3-phase. We were able to get converters to bring them down to work. But this machine apparently, after I had Daryl check with their people, the company,
Yeah.
and yeah, it won't work with that, I guess, is their experience. So,
Alright,
all right. So we're down, educating the public on plastic alternatives. So, this was something, Jacera had talked about when we were originally, a couple of months ago, talking about, eliminating plastics. And one of the things we talked about was, can we start educating the public on what they can do? Jacera had mentioned wanting to work on businesses. I think we thought at the table, thought we'd get more bang for our buck if we were getting the public to do it, since there's few businesses in town. So not that they can't do that, but we'd be, so Julia had one and we talked last month and had some suggestions about doing some forums over our next fiscal year, where we could show some type of a movie and have a presenter or have a discussion afterwards where we can give people alternatives. A movie that obviously that's appropriate. So, I think that's a great way. I think that's we were talking before you came in, before we turned the sound on, about how do we get the rights to anything. And Michelle pointed out that Judy Black works with the library to get the rights to films that they're showing down there. So that would be a place to start. Julia, I think it's a great way. I think it's a great idea. I think people would be interested, and I think we'd get groups that would, Judy Black or Steve Brock to participate. But we've got to work up a schedule or a plan as to what it was.
yeah, and
what we
start
wanna
with
do.
the films. I also loved, as I was packing up the Earth Day box, I don't know if it was you or Sarah, but there were samples of ways not to use plastic. There were bamboo toothbrushes
them.
in those. Did
Yeah.
you get those? That was awesome. Like, so I think
Floss, dental floss.
there was dental floss, not in a plastic
Who knew that dental floss-
container. So, and I saved them in the box. So
Come in something
showing
else.
people
Where'd you-
products. I
So-
think that's helpful.
Who knew?
So ideas about how to proceed then, because what I'm
Well, I think
thinking,
the first thing I need to do is check in with the library people, and if they say, oh, these things have to be planned out 9 months, a year, and like, I don't know how you secure a documentary. I've never done a film festival, so, I think I need some basic
We
information.
should also probably pick the film, a couple that we're shooting for,
Yes, we have,
Jafar-
in the chat, there was, so I would go with a list, but they
Yeah.
might say, I just need somebody who has done this before.
yeah, get the info.
Yeah, to get some, and then if they're like, oh, we can get this together in a couple of weeks, and that totally
Right.
changes our calendar.
Well, what things do we want to focus on if we're talking to people in their homes about what they can do? Is it,
Let's about the sort of the water, food and air or something, like if we just think of 3 topics that are just sort of generally impact everybody's well-being in the most universal way.
and we want to be able to, obviously, to have things that they can then go home and do, or do
Yeah.
in their lives, however you want to, whatever, what, not necessarily
Well,
just,
plastics is certainly a big one,
yeah,
because.
yeah, getting rid of
I
plastics,
don't think people generally have a real understanding of how
right,
exposed they are.
right.
I think,
Can't
well,
change unless they're aware.
right,
Right.
I think it's kind of twofold. It's one is the film, which is sort of, you almost want that shock value that shows you
Right.
how bad it is for your health,
Yeah.
for the environment, like
So.
that motivates to want to do it. And then solutions, like here's some easy ways to not use a dry cleaning bag and not use a plastic toothbrush, whatever it is, metal lunch boxes.
Here's places you can go to get that.
Yes, and
I'm wondering
sources.
if we could, like, when we show the film, make it informal, coffee, whatever, and then have all those things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right,
on a
To
table.
even hand out, if we have a little money, it's not that much money,
Yeah.
we could just hand some out.
some samples.
That's a great idea.
I totally agree. I'm friends with the woman who owns BD Provisions down in New
Mhm.
Milford. And not only can you refill food into jars
yeah.
there, but she's got you can refill those. Dish soap, laundry soap, you can buy the toothpaste tabs and we could have that, we could
Yeah.
have that, people could try them or.
Yeah, someone showed me dryer, instead of dryer sheets, they have these little balls.
Oh, the little
Yeah.
roll balls, and then, yeah.
I've had them, yeah, they're great.
And then, and then looking at films that maybe are a decent, nothing 3 hour, a decent
Oh, yeah.
length. Where somebody then maybe, maybe she could come and say a few words, depending on the topic,
Yeah.
have somebody just say a few words and answer
Mhm.
questions and then wrap it, Yeah, and then a parting gift.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I would love to, that would be great.
All right, so I would say, can we do it 3 times in the year? Next year, I would think we could do that.
October,
Do a fall, a winter and a spring.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah,
And maybe I was trying to think that if we could keep it within the school year, because then it might tie into somebody might require it. As part of a,
Yeah, there are green groups and classes and
I mean,
environmental.
even if you're in
popping up
biology or
everywhere.
chemistry, that might, it might tie into something, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
So we
that.
need to find the films.
We need to identify some
Read-
films and
yeah,
then,
I think that would be the
Million.
first,
First,
like,
yeah.
get a list and
Yeah.
then
And
I would love to go to the library with you because I want to learn about that. Like,
okay,
we could go
okay, yes,
together
absolutely,
and,
yes.
so can you guys bring back some films that you're thinking about,
Or
or
anybody,
anybody,
you should have seen film
yeah,
ideas.
yeah,
Yeah.
We have some,
coming
Yeah.
back to my.
no, we have, she already did throw some,
Oh,
we
okay, I
have
must
some,
miss that.
but we have some from her and then. And that would be good to take to our library meeting, like, these are the things we're thinking about and they. Can tell us yes or no or whatever,
All right, so that'll be our next step before the next time we meet, try to identify some films.
And
And talk to
get
the
some info
library.
on, how do we get this done? But would we have it here? Where would we have it?
can I have it at the library
The library
That's-
does do that.
a lot.
Judy Black does too,
Yeah.
sometimes if we're a nonprofit
Yeah.
and Judy Black has a sustainability committee, so
I
they
mean-
might want to partner.
Yeah, the trouble in here is just the sound is very difficult if you have a big room and
Okay.
in a movie
Okay.
here. Just
Yeah,
not
library, I've
acoustic.
seen-
Would actually be
Yeah,
better.
but
I've seen
hopefully we get more people than fill this room, that's the only, yeah.
They do the recycling, I've seen the recycling the garbage thing at the library.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they've definitely hosted.
Been well attended.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Right.
Maybe that's something to hook up with, Gunn as well. They have a huge auditorium there that's very
Yeah.
nice, and they're trying to do more, you had said, so.
Yep, they are.
um, Maybe if you were touching
Yeah, they have
base,
a nice.
they have,
nice-
ooh,
That's quite a.
it's hard to park in there, but it's a beautiful spot,
the
yeah.
acoustics are just.
Ooh, wow.
And they have a huge screen, yeah,
Yeah,
that would be fun.
all
All
right,
right, so then we'll look for doing,
all
we'll
right,
look to
so,
do 3 events, let's say, in the next year.
Oh, can I just say, I tried to look up, we were watching that bill that was going through the Connecticut
Yeah.
legislature on single-use plastic. And it was for schools and municipalities and stuff. And I couldn't quite figure out if it made it through, like, I could see the tracking.
Yeah,
Couldn't Maria Horn help with that?
well,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, session just ended 6 days ago,
Right.
and so I was like, ooh, I wonder.
yeah,
I'm surprised I didn't see a newspaper article about it, and I saw a newspaper article about like the top 10 bill, so.
Yeah.
If anybody knows, please let me know, but we should just check that.
well, yeah.
You do.
And a lot of things didn't get through because of was it Ansonia where it was? A woman was trying to get a town onto the state, financial, like Waterbury was on a couple of years ago where they had, people from the state came down and took over their finances for a while. So this person, I think it was Ansonia, a woman representative, was having battles with the town manager, the town, the selectman, whatever the group is there. And so she spent 45 minutes at the end of the session when they were trying to pass all these last bills, filibustering, to get people to agree to put the town on the list. And the town I read, it was in the paper and the town officials, of course, were like, we don't need this. I think they passed it just because they want to be able to
To get
move on and
rid-
get rid of the other stuff
Wow.
on when they really,
I don't know.
nobody, one of those kind of things.
The housing
So,
bill was
yeah,
big, and I gotta
yeah.
read that to see what that means,
So-
but
Business,
I couldn't find this.
All right, so, I just, under new business, I had returnables there. When Monique, had come to me that WEC was interested in looking into collecting returnable bottles so that various organizations, each, however we did it, would be able to take them and then bring them to Torrington or bring them wherever to turn in the bottles and then get the cash, keep the money for it, which we've talked about actually a long time ago, but it seemed logistically to be kind of an issue. There's a gentleman whose name I didn't write down, but I met with him, and Monique. Oh,
David?
yes.
The new,
Yeah.
yep.
And so he apparently is going to New Milford this weekend, because New Milford does this to see how they do it. And I think it'd be great. I mean, if we could figure out logistically a way where we would collect them, whether it would be a thing that people would bring everything down on a Saturday that you want to get rid of, whether it would be someplace where we allowed people to drop it off during the week, that's all that needs to be figured out.
To be
And
determined.
you gotta have somebody who's committed to doing it. I don't wanna end up having the town, employees ending up, I'm thinking,
maybe
if you-
pay them with the profits.
well. If you could figure out a way to have people, various nonprofit groups in town take a month or something like that,
Yeah.
or, so. Once he's finished, he's been working on this for a while. Monique said he knows to get back in touch with me, and she gave me his contact information. So just FYI, I'll talk with him and see if we can work something out. I think it'd be a great way to make some money for these nonprofits if they're interested in doing that. Other new business, Carol, you had something you want to
Well,
bring up?
just bring up briefly, and we could talk about it in another meeting, we don't have a noise ordinance in town, is that right?
That is correct.
And so that's something I'd like to discuss.
Sure. Sure.
It's getting very, very noisy, now that all the blowers are out again, and they're landscaping every day of the week.
Yeah.
So that's something that concerns me, and the replanting of trees. When I know we don't have an ordinance that says you can't take a tree down that's so big. I think we should, but
No, there is
if
something,
they took some huge ones down. And maybe we could do a thing where they'd have to replant
I think
Who took them down? Who?
on West
Stevie,
Shore Road down.
conservation has been talking about this.
Yeah.
And, so has the delay of demolition, I believe,
Yeah.
talk to Dimitri.
Okay.
I think,
Because the big trees, the old barns,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
got you,
Yeah.
if it's
It's-
over, and I think there were months of conversations about the diameter or
Yeah.
how big it should be to
It's just,
trigger
I
this.
know they're building a house and the one that they took down was it was huge. I mean, it had to be, the diameter had to be 6 or 7 feet.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
so
know-
that's that.
unless you're, what I understand is unless you're cutting in wetlands, you can pretty much remove a tree, but I think that, if we can come up with something that
I think
works, why
town
not?
have ordinances.
Yeah, well,
I
we
mean,
don't.
In
I'm
Terrytown,
saying,
you cannot touch it, you have to, if it's
No.
thicker than your arm, you have to tag it.
Yeah.
And somebody
Yeah.
comes up and looks at it and they're like, yes
I'm
or
not
no.
saying
I mean,
there aren't, but we don't have that right
No,
now.
we
My
don't. We have
understanding, the
like-
only way you can do it is if it's in your wetlands area, then you
Yeah.
have to get approval to do it.
I
So that'd be great. I mean, the noise ordinance thing, we've looked into this. The difficulty is that the state exempts landscaping companies from noise ordinances. So
We'd be better off banning gas powered leaf blowers.
yeah, and
Huh.
so,
Which
See, I'll look into.
has
it.
been
But-
done.
well, go ahead. I'm happy, maybe they've changed, but
Yeah,
that's,
maybe we
the
can
issue
change it.
we've talked about is being able, and I've talked to other communities about this. And even though the state says you can't do this, a number of communities have passed ordinances to say you can't start until 7:30
Mhm.
and you have to finish by a certain time.
No Sunday.
And on
It's pretty
snow
reasonable.
Sundays and weekends have to end by start later in the day and end earlier in the day.
They start at 7:30.
What's that?
They start at 7:30.
Well, 7:30, that's, it's one of those, you gotta balance, you got the businesses that only work certain months and now they're trying to make their money and I get that, but I get, not starting at 6:30 AM. We did pass a rule, we did pass a motion of,
Ordinance.
or no, not an ordinance, we just added to the, building department that they have the right to, regulate the times that folks start working at their site, at their house.
Construction.
And it's, yeah, so
It's
Peter
neighborly.
does have that option to be able to, address that with folks, but living on the top of a hill, we don't work, but you're living in an area, he can do that, so. We did change that up the last year, but that was as far as we got in terms of the,
So these are
landscape.
just things to think
I
about.
think it's
mean,
great,
My
yeah.
last one is light pollution,
Yeah,
the thing, now there's a thing where, if they're not there, they put every light on in the house and
Oh.
leave it on all night.
yeah,
And so that's all around, and and it's really nice if it's, when it's dark on the lake, you can see the sky really nice, but so light pollution is a
And that's
problem.
really bad. I mean, it's terrible for the birds, too. It's been a real
Yeah.
problem for the bird. And again, a lot of the village towns in Westchester have banned any kind of landscape uplighting.
Yeah.
we do,
We-
we
we have
have,
that.
we do have
Yeah.
that in town, and they're supposed, but if they're on all the time, who was I talking to about this? That was up at Chippewa, and Chippew's terrible about it, I mean, every light you go by there at night, and there's lights on all
Yeah,
over the
bunch.
place.
They meet the requirements, so they
Oh,
lowered the
those-
poles and
but
they're
I'm talking-
down
I'm
facing.
talking about, not the poles, I'm talking about the building itself,
Mhm.
you go by there and the building's lit up, but. I think that, we do have an ordinance that requires the down lighting and all.
I just remember when we had the blackouts and all that, and we lost power, and so then they decided everybody should, not have their lights on at
Yeah.
night.
Yeah,
And now we're back to just putting every light on.
yeah.
Well,
Those fluorescent bulbs.
so, yeah, so wanna take a few minutes, Michelle has some ideas on how to spend the rest of the money that we have left this month. And I am always, as an educator, I'm always in favor of spending every dollar with public.
Well, and just so you know,
How much do we
we
have left?
only spent, 3,900, so basically 4,000 of our budget.
Yeah.
Most of that went to the newsletter. We did some no idling signs. I put it together. It's in the hallway. It's supposed to go to the primary school. The one at the high school is being used.
How much do we have left?
So we have $6,000 left.
Oh, my
Okay,
goodness.
that's
Right,
I
so I have one suggestion.
Okay.
I know, and then we'll go and we'll make this sign.
Yeah,
And
my
maybe
sign.
we'll make it, we'll
I like
figure out.
gold
We're
plate.
gonna need signs for the charging stations.
But that goes to somebody else paying for that.
That's a good
Yeah.
question, but generally, all the signs like that kind of stuff are done by our, but the highway department.
Actually, not all of them.
Yeah, they charge you.
I do the pedestrian safety ones out of
That's-
EDC. I do the parking, municipal parking. So I'll look and see if there's some sort of, I don't know what it should,
Oh, it just needs to be, that sort
Yeah.
of universal.
EV charge.
And also we
Need
Like
some-
with an arrow.
need some
We'll
arrows.
need some arrows too. We
Yeah.
might need a couple of signs of
Yeah.
arrows.
Okay. So I will look at those and just, get kind of the standard ones. So one thing that I thought of, the zoning department, building department came to ask me about picnic tables along the river on the town-owned land. Which we were going to purchase some more with the ARPA money and it just
Yeah.
never happened for
Yeah.
whatever reason. But I was thinking if we did the recycled plastic, like what we've been collecting, that
Yeah.
might be a good idea to get two for the river. That's, I'm pointing.
Yeah, I know
Because
where
we
you-
have some
That's fine.
on this side, but
Yeah.
it's not, over on the Titus side, by the Titus.
How
In
much
that
are they?
space. So the recycled plastic 8 foot. They're $1,400 a piece of.
8 foot. Big,
Yeah, I mean, the
That's
6
good.
foot is 1,275, so.
not that much cheaper.
No, it's not that much cheaper. I don't know. I guess what I would maybe do is measure the ones that we have out on the town hall lawn. And see how big
Those
they
are
are and do
60.
the
I
same.
wanna, but the town crew or whoever is mowing might have something to say about it. Those plastic ones are really heavy,
Yeah, they're heavy. Yeah, nobody can steal it. But
really heavy.
but you, there's,
Yeah.
yeah, that stuff is
You
big.
flip them up and then you mow them and then yeah.
Well, as long as, just.
Well,
That's what they do here is they flip them up and
Yeah.
they mow close
Right.
and then they have the weed
Weed
whacker.
whacker.
Yeah.
Put it down.
All right,
So
all right, so let's, I
you want
go ahead.
2,
I-
3? Do you wanna make a motion to approve?
Well, let's also, we wanted to do a couple more of the bear-proof containers to
Yes.
put up, and they're bigger than the ones that are up
They
there.
make them both sizes.
Okay,
So I would check with the company before we ordered them, just to make sure
yeah,
that.
because I
the-
thought those were
Yeah,
Yeah.
to just see, I forget how many we have out there now
I think
and,
7 or 8 that we have up there.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think we need 7 or 8, because these are, if we got this size, they're bigger than
Yeah,
the other ones.
and it was like,
But we
How
have to
about
see
at the
who wants to,
first-
like, how they empty them, depending on the machine that empty, they might be a certain size, because.
right, and I forget, I talked to them for a long time. We went
That's
with the
key.
bigger one back here because it was cheaper to have one big container than 2 small containers.
Yep.
So I'll just
The
look at
thing
that.
I'm concerned about is just, I don't want, if they're not any more effective than the ones that we have up there, but, again, what Liz and told me was, they're not able to rip the thing apart, they rip the back, they know how to get the
Right.
hinges part. Now, I
Right.
don't know if these are similarly
They're
built,
carrying
but.
tools now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, these are advertised as bear
Yeah,
proof.
right.
And they like show video of like,
bear.
like hitting it with a truck and
Yeah.
stuff and like jumping on it. So
All right, so if we did the
we
two,
could do a couple of, but those were like $500 a piece.
yeah, so if we did the two,
Benches.
picnic tables, right,
Two tables.
that's $2,800
How about
bucks.
the benches? Oh, was that the picnic?
Picnic
Yeah,
tables,
yeah.
And they have this, this, the small, I know some, the smaller size, bear-proof containers, I mean, just fits in with them. I don't know whether it matters whether they're big or small. I mean, it seems to me be easier for them if they had more bigger, for the bigger size, just to.
Yeah, I guess, I will call the company to see if it makes a difference to
Okay.
them and then talk to Liz and.
All right, we don't have a lot of time to get all that done,
No,
so.
but as long as the order gets in.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So-
so, and that one back there, I think was like $500,
$500, yeah.
so we'll see, and if they have 7, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
even if we just order 4 and
Yeah,
just see if.
yeah,
If they're
that's what
more
I'm
bear
thinking
proof
of.
than the
Yeah,
others.
Yeah,
4,
yeah,
that's another
I
2,000.
mean, 4 seems a lot, I was just gonna pick 2.
I have a little
We have
suggestion.
7 up there,
yeah,
apparently.
go ahead, Amy.
If we end up with, let's say an odd number of a couple of $100 or whatever it is left over, I think it would be nice for us to buy some LED interior and floodlights that we put into the food bank or give to social services so that they can distribute them to help lower the bills of the people who are in need, who do get food subsidies, so that we're teaching them, well, not teaching them anything really, other than helping them be able to save a little bit, and it's a nice way to give back. And it would reduce their bills compared to the bulbs that they probably have been using. Just
Yeah.
Um,
to round out the number, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm picturing, or I'm just thinking of the ways we distribute, we do holiday, food
yeah,
things here. So they could go in there, and then social services, I have a feeling, I feel like some people might take issue with us sending it to the Washington Warren Food
Food-
Bank, just cause then it's not just Washington residents, but.
Yeah, whatever you
Social
think. I mean,
services, we could ask,
yeah.
what do you think?
At first I'm thinking but I think that's fine. I mean, why not? It's, we're trying to
And
help
also-
folks out, lower their electric bill as well as use less energy, and that's the point.
Yeah, see if that's something.
they really do make a difference when you switch
Yeah.
those, especially the floodlights.
Do we have signs, or we also talked about like some things to hand out, like bamboo,
Yeah, we should.
toothbrushes. Is there stuff that we could,
Oh,
Could we
the
take a look?
stuff, the plastic
yeah,
alternatives?
that-
We could get a bunch of samples of different, different things and.
so I don't wanna stick
For our
Michelle
next-
with sitting at her computer all day long doing this. Can
It's a lot
I
of
can-
shopping.
I can-
you have some time to
that-
help
Well,
her
but
out
this
with
would
that?
also tie, you're talking about tying into the film, so we need to
Yeah.
figure out what that
Yeah,
is first.
tying into the film, well, and it's also just with the way our business
I'm sure
department
Bill will have
works.
that one, so.
Would-
It'll be easier for me to do the ordering, but
Yeah, you do the ordering, but if we have some ideas that.
Yeah.
Stuff that we wanted to hand out,
I'll look.
like at Earth Day or, one of,
Right,
you know.
right.
That we use
plastic
there.
alternative items for
Right.
samples, well, Earth Day and our upcoming plastic
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, but I'm just using Earth Day as an example of what, all right,
So we can like take a look, and Amy, maybe you and I, we're gonna work on a sign, but do you wanna look at, cause some of it we might, if we can get a bulk order.
Yeah,
it's to
yeah,
hand out,
yeah,
like, they go home with a
Right.
grocery bag for produce,
Right.
that's not plastic.
right. So can
Others
we
are
do that?
just samples.
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll see. Okay,
All right, I'm gonna make a motion
Okay.
that the committee authorizes Michelle to purchase two recycled, picnic tables made out of recycled material, 4 bear-proof containers for our food waste program, individual alternatives to plastic that we can use as handouts to various meetings, and some LED lights to pass out to our folks that are eligible for the food bank. And I'll make a motion that we authorize her to spend no more than
$9 million.
$5,500. How's that?
That sounds
Can I get
great.
a- Can I get a second for that?
Okay.
Any thoughts? I've left $500 in there, so I don't get totally.
So I have not necessarily. that
Oh,
it
let's
has to
have a
go-
vote
wait.
though.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh,
All
we
in
have to vote.
favor?
Oh, aye.
All right, thank you.
So. My husband has taken over Hugh's water
Right.
sample project. And so we did the whole tour, and it really just opened up so we're just testing for the road salt. That is the exclusive
Right.
test right now. But I wondered if we wanted to expand the testing, if there are other things that we would like to know and track in these water streams. In addition to, and we can talk about this next time.
Right.
And that, of course, would increase the cost
Right.
of the testing. And also, I was wondering, does Washington test at Lake Warmug for the beach quality, the water for the beach?
yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I didn't know if we just relied on somebody else.
No.
Okay,
No.
okay,
Yeah.
so we have a tracking we have a
Well,
tracking.
I don't know who, does the state do it? I don't know who, but it's done. I mean.
There we get reports, it's a
Yeah.
bacteria high day, they let all the
Okay,
beach.
okay, so
it's-
Maybe it might be the task force.
That
Well,
beach
that's
is
what I was
closed by.
No, I knew
August
somebody did
15th
it.
For the rest of the
That
summer.
was somebody, but I know.
I know.
I would suggest talking to Steep Rock, cause they monitor the
They-
Chippewa
They test
And
certain
we're
areas,
looking-
they test
Okay.
Walker Brook
for
Yeah,
more than just salt.
and I know, go ahead, I'm sorry, yeah.
for bacteria, they
Yeah.
test Walker Brook, because they've got pastures that are.
But aren't there like
There's a
chemicals
river,
and things that we might wanna
Yeah.
test for?
well, the River Alliance, I don't know if you talked to you guys about it, so there is a River Alliance, those older folks of us know who've been here, that was formed to force the town of Waterbury to let out more water into the Chippewa when the Chippewa was basically the walk
Right.
across it.
Oh, right.
We'll be done in 2 minutes, Jim, get whatever you need. So Hugh was on that commission organization for quite a long time, and we're looking for somebody else who might be interested to sit in for him. I talked to Jim about this, and we were gonna talk to the Conservation Commission to see if they had somebody that might be interested in taking over Hugh's role. But that would be the group that we could talk to and about what other monitoring, not just the Chippewa, but what other monitoring we might wanna do.
Okay, all right, so
but let me-
we can put this on the.
I'll talk to, no, Jim and I are gonna meet with the Conservation Commission, and that was one, because they're kind of looking for stuff to do according to Jim, so. that would be
Oh, okay. Thank
another
you.
thing For them to do. Yeah, but they need some, like your husband, to go ahead and do some of the work.
Yeah, I mean, if he's out there, it's just silly, he's out there collecting samples anyway, then it's crazy
Why
that.
not? That makes a lot of sense.
All right, so if you don't, yeah, that's
I'd
sure.
like to assist, like,
Okay.
like,
I'll make a
Sure.
motion we-
When-
we-
I'll second it. Everybody in
Yeah,
favor of
okay,
it?
I'll have a-
Yeah.
See, it's great, because all the sites are sort of on his.
Sorry,
So-
Amy, it's getting
Oh.
crazy here. Town
Okay.
meeting's about to start.
All right, so the meeting
Yeah.
in here, if you don't know, is to nominate people to the Board of Education. There's gonna be